please introduce yourself, tell us your name, and other things like where you studied, where you trained to be a pharmacist, and so that we get to know you.
Okay. My name is Dr. Wilberforce Wanyanga. I'm a pharmacist, graduate November 1981, University of Nairobi School of Pharmacy. I have been in practice since then, mainly moving from the government hospital, government Ministry of Health, worked as a chief pharmacist in Kenyatta National Hospital, moved on as a pharmacist in Judge in medical, by then it was called Medical Stores Coordinating Unit, and then later on moved on to House and McGeorge as for the manufacturing sector. The company closed, and then I moved back to Cosmos Limited, where I worked quite for a while until I resigned in 2005 to start my own establishment, PharmaQ Limited, as a consulting firm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely. So let's take a step back to when you were still a student at UON. What are some of the memorable things that you can share with us about studying at UON?
We were green. We didn't know where we were going, but we knew that we were in the right profession. A small class, but exciting, because at that time I was a little bit naughty, so they made me a chairman of Nairobi University Pharmacy Students Association, a post I held until graduation in 1979, 1980. Yeah, and then, but it was exciting. One of the memorable things I remember when I was a chairman, we made a trip to Nakuru by Rethram board, and we went to university bus called Concord as a class. And I didn't know that it was such a memorable thing, because one of my students, one of my classmates, was chasing after another one, and they kept on moving from one chair to the other until later on they got married. Yeah, and when I think about that trip, I always remember that it produced a marriage.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, that's really interesting. And so after graduation, being a UN pharmacist yourself, how did you see the interaction between and in the positions that you held? How did you see the quality of work and the interaction with other pharmacists, specifically from your end? How was that?
It's quite a turnaround situation, because I started as an intern at in the industry, hospital, and of course the retail pharmacy. Two memorable things I remember when I was an intern. One time at the retail pharmacy, I got a prescription. I didn't know the prescription would turn out to be a big deal, a big issue. So the gentleman who brought the prescription, I asked him, how old is the user of this medicine? Then he said, it's me. Then I asked, are you sure you are the one?
Okay, yeah.
And he goes, what is this young man asking me? I am the one having it. Then I'm sorry, I need to get back to your doctor. It was a prescription for birth control medicine.
Okay.
And this is a man. And I didn't understand. So I called the doctor, and he told me, tell him to come immediately. Okay. So he went back to the doctor. I don't want to mention the name, but then when he came back, because he was fuming for not
Being given the
giving the right medicine.
Yes.
And the pharmacist came up and told me, what is the problem? And I explained that. Then he advised the old man, can you go back to the doctor immediately? When he came back, he said, thank you for saving me. Thank you for saving my life.
Yes.
I'm hypertensive, and I thought I'm getting the medicine for
Hypertension.
Kumbe, it was for birth control.
Wow.
Okay, then when I finished there, I went to the provincial hospital in Nyeri. On the day I arrived, the pharmacist in charge, after welcoming me, I saw her sobbing. Then I asked, what is the problem? She had just been informed her father had passed on. And then she said, you are the only pharmacist here. These are the keys. My first day, I didn't know anybody else. I didn't know wherever I was. And she went away. I was left with a bunch of keys.
To run.
And the telephone started ringing. Do you have this medicine? I don't know. Do you have this medicine? But I had an old man who was working there, subordinate staff. He would come and listen and say, what are they saying? Then I tell him the name of the medicines. Then he say, come. Take this key. Open with this one. And then I opened. I go there, then he would show me on the shelf. Then I will come back on the phone and answer, yes, we have it. How many did you want? And things like that. The control of medicine was so strict that this subordinate staff, much as he knew where they were, he knew his limitations. That even the key was to be opened by the pharmacist. And I really thought it really changed me with the authority a pharmacist has. So the word went around the household, there's a new pharmacist. So everybody was now coming in to see who's this new pharmacist and so forth. It was exciting.
Must have been. What I'm hearing is that the training gave you enough diligence, to at least know when to give a patient the right medicine.
Yeah.
And also administrative capacity.
Yes.
Because running a pharmacy in itself requires some administrative know-how. So what I'm hearing from your stories.
In fact, in KNH, I had another encounter. I was in pharmacy 15, and a prescription came, and I wrote at the back, I returned it to the doctor because the medicine were not could not go together. I wanted him to add another one, potassium, slow K, it was used to be called, because digitalis and hypertensive medicines and so forth, it was going to cause a lot of severe side effects. So I wanted them. So the patient went back to the doctor. And then the doctor came fuming, are you going to teach new pharmacy? And I told him, no, I have been here for very many years. Nobody has ever told me anything like this. Then I just really told him, now that's why I'm here, to correct the mistakes you have been making all the years. So he didn't take it kindly. He went to my boss, the chief pharmacist in the main pharmacy. And there, whom does he find? When he was reporting me, there was another professor, consultant, who listened. Then he said, what's wrong with this?
You were right.
He was wondering. Then I was summoned there. And when I reached there, I was told, you are doing a good job. You're doing a good job. It gave me a lot of excitement because the doctor who was reprimanding me now felt a little bit shy of, and I had to go and do what I had instructed him, because he said, this is the reason we are training pharmacists, to make us give the right medicines.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And have you had the same experience with more recent graduates of UON? For instance, you were chief pharmacist is it at Kenyatta?
Yeah.
Am I correct? So is it still the same? Like, do these newer pharmacists from UON still have the same zeal in, safeguarding the prescription of medication?
Actually, the pharmacists were looked upon, down upon by the medical fraternity. And it's in the late 80s that World Health Organization published a circular to all countries to recognize the role of pharmacists. And it gave the duties, the responsibilities of pharmacists so that we could be taken seriously. Many countries, many physicians, many medical workers looked down upon the pharmacists. So after that circular, I was lucky because I was at the Ministry of Health, and I was now using it to give to my colleagues, make sure that you follow this, and if anybody doubts what you are doing, this is the document to refer to. It went on, and I think up to now, in some places, the role of the pharmacist is not really appreciated. But I'm happy that in the years that followed, I went back to Kenyatta as a chief pharmacist. And at that time, we are promoting rational use of medicines. And when I introduced that in the hospital as a committee now to start looking at the proper use of medicines, it was highly appreciated. And I could see people from the wards, the nurses, and coming to pharmacy, ringing and saying, how do we use these medicines? Sometimes when they differed with the doctors, I was the arbiter. So because they would come back and say, is this right? Then if it's not right, then I would call the doctor and say that there's a problem here. And in many cases, I was appreciated.
Okay. And so over the years, there has been developments, legal developments, policies, and the regulation of pharmacy training practice in Kenya. And so perhaps you could highlight to us some of these key changes in the in the practice of pharmacy, and particularly your role in shaping that industry.
We had the time I started working, the registration of medicine was just starting. It was tedious, it was voluminous documents, and I had to assist the chief pharmacists and the other colleagues like Dr. Njue, Bibiana Njue, in calling committees to evaluate medicines for registration. And we went on, and I remember at that time, even coding and so forth, we had to initiate that and say that we have registered medicine, yes, but they need to bear a code number. And I remember I was given that task to do the coding, which is still in use today. Later on, we also developed other policies. There was a policy that came up for establishment of a National Quality Control Laboratory because we needed to assess the quality of medicines. The incidents had happened on the market when the substandard medicines were on the market, and nobody would do anything because there was no law, there was no nothing. So I was involved in not just establishing the National Quality Control Laboratory, but also making amendments to CAP 244 to bring in the question of standards and the defaulters, what would happen to them and so forth. Then another memorable thing that was local manufacturing. Local manufacturing was really at the lowest level and it was not recognized, and the only things the government would buy were very, very little. And then I was given the task of establishing and oversight over the local manufacturing so that we have quality medicines. In that period of time, I started the good manufacturing practice inspections, because previously it was handled by drug inspectors, but now we handed a professional touch on it, and that's at the department that I started and is still in use. It has grown now, GMP inspection, but that is something I remember that we had to initiate. It was difficult. It was difficult to be accepted, but then later on, it took ground and people saw the merits of it. Then we started the national pharmaceutical policy. The question was, how do we manufacture, how do we establish the industry without a policy? And I was in the team that's initiated the establishment of that, the development of that policy, Kenya National Pharmaceutical Policy. We sat many times. I know that it was little understood. The first time we took it to brief the ministry and later on to the parliament, nobody would understand. So it was put down the shelf because they could not understand. But then when there were problems on drug shortages and things like that, people were saying, oh, we need to have herbal medicines also practiced in the hospitals. Then we reminded them that, look, the policy document is still not yet out, and that aspect is there. So then it was removed from down the shelf, and discussions took place, and the first Kenya National Pharmaceutical Policy was done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. And so now let's talk about the interaction between the industry and training. The pharma industry has been collaborating with training institutions to, I guess, bring out more competent pharmacists. Is that, at least for now?
Yeah.
I was asking about the interaction between institutions and the practicing industry, specifically, the improvements that you would suggest to the current relationship between practicing and training. Is training sufficient to prepare pharmacists for the real world encounters that pharmacists in Kenya specifically face, particularly in your end? So,
I would say the setup initially of training of pharmacists was based on clinical aspects of it. The industrial aspects were downplayed. But with the growth of the industry, the universities, there are several universities now, and the good thing is that there is competition. And because of competition, there is the idea of industrial pharmacy being introduced in most of the universities. I know School of Pharmacy has started even masters in industrial pharmacy. It's not very well populated, but is a step in the right direction. The difficulties were because the setting up a training center for industrial at the university is an expensive endeavor. And because of the cutting of the finances involved and so forth, the School of Pharmacy didn't take that route initially. But with the policies change of encouraging of local manufacturing and so forth, we have seen a good development in that area. And also with a number of pharmacists who prefer to work in the industry coming out and being in the industry, we are seeing that sort of growth. Personally, I have also been involved in engaging the universities in the region, East African community, in training of pharmacists. Recently, I was even in SADC countries where we engaged the industry and the academia to promote the industrial pharmacy. Why is this important? We have got to go back a few years ago. We used to have a supply system for medicines that was called the kit system in the 80s. in the kit system, and I think it ended in the 90s. It used to be a box of medicines that the supplier would give to medical stores that would be destined to dispensaries, health centers, and hospitals. Now, it became a little bit, then one policy change, it was administrative policy change, is that 50% of those medicines should be locally manufactured. And the local manufacturer who was awarded the tender would then look for contractors who would fill the rest of the 50%. Now, that made a new time for local manufacturer to start expanding. That's the time we saw the Cosmos, the Ellis, the Lab and Allied, the Regal, and so forth coming up because they wanted to fill that gap. Then we went on a few more years until the year 20,000. We had the HIV, ARV advent, and TB and malaria. They were being promoted, and the issue was, can you manufacture them locally so that you can service the number of people? Because importing and the problems associated with the importation, the delays and so forth, the local manufacturers were encouraged to make those medicines locally. And we went on for some time, reasonably very well, because I was involved in those discussions until mid 2005, 2010, when now the question of quality was coming in and being promoted by World Health Organization. And in that time, the question was, how do we make local manufacturers make medicines that would be accepted not just in Kenya but internationally? So we started a project which we call PIC project, which were to promote the local manufacturing to quality standards. It was done by the federal, sponsored by GTZ then. And it was a program that was being done in Kenya, in Syria, and in some of those war-torn countries. So Kenya was the center. Now, the success of that initiative made a United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, start a project in Kenya on strengthening and supporting the local manufacturing. I was privileged to be the coordinator of that program. And we went on until 2019, I think, 2019, and achieved quite a reasonable quality status improvement in the local manufacturing industry. Now, I'm mentioning this because you can now be able to look at the landscape of local manufacturers and how important it has come. Then come COVID. COVID was another turning point where the importations were curtailed. Countries were preserving what they had, and they could only export what they thought would not disadvantage the exporting countries. So the WHO started now saying, no, wait a minute, we must promote this local manufacturing in a more serious note, because resolutions were made to do that. I'm happy I was one of the participants on the first conference that now was promoting and making recommendation to countries all over the world to encourage the local manufacturing aspects. But it's important to mention that we are taking the lead as Kenya. When UNIDO started initiating this, we became the platform for Africa and the developing world to know that local manufacturing is possible. Quality manufacturing is possible. And we came up with what I always call 3 major documents. Document number 1 was for countries just to assess their capability of pharmaceutical capability and the profile of the country. Then, and therefore we published what we call Kenya Pharmaceutical Profile. Then after that, we say, now, wait a minute. This information is telling us that more than 70% of the medicines used are imported. Out of that, now more than 90% of the essential medicines are imported. So what happens to our population? So we started now working on a strategic plan that would make local manufacturing possible. So the Kenya pharmaceutical sector development strategy was developed. And when we developed, there were few things that were to be done. That document brought the awareness of the political will for the country to know that local manufacturing is impossible. Then we are asked to promote it on the continent because it was looking like something that was nice. So out of it, we developed what we call Kenya the GMP roadmap, Kenya Good Manufacturing Roadmap. Now, it was such a document that you help a companies from its low level to international standards. And that document was so good that it was promoted all over Africa. West Africa came here and said, we want this document. SADC countries came and said, we want this document. So it's a document that is being implemented in the entire Africa. East African community, now the neighboring countries wanted that document. And I'm very proud that that is now the living spirit of good manufacturing practice that ever came in my lifetime. And it's there. And in that, what are the outcomes, the fruits that you can be able to see? We got Universal Health Corporation. They got WHO PK pre-qualification status. And now they have been awarded other tenders and other contracts to manufacture antimalarials and also TB medicines and other medicines. They are being done here. So it's a journey that we have walked. Just before I finish that, we had, in the year around 2000, I was a delegate to World Trade Organization to negotiate Kenya's status with the TRIPS. And when I reached there, I was one of the most consulted guy and I read the Kenyan statement, and Kenya became a signatory of TRIPS. Coming back home, I was at Cosmos. We were the first country, and under my negotiation, we got compulsory, the voluntary licensing of ARVs given to Cosmos. I can tell you it was not, I went to the boardroom to negotiate at Kipi. When I reached the boardroom, I found the whole boardroom seated, and one side of the table was empty. They were squeezing on the other side. Then the director then asked me, where is the rest of your delegation? I said, I'm only one. Then he called a meeting to order and said that we have a quorum. When Dr. Wanyanga is here, we have a quorum. Okay. The meeting took such a short time that the following day, we were now everywhere being told, oh, you have got to do this, and so forth. And we got the first voluntary licensing under the TRIPS flexibilities under my eye.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so now, moving on, okay, at least still around training and practice, what should graduates expect in the field? Specifically, any challenges? Are there any challenges that you faced in your practice while a pharmacist? Yeah.
We have got to change the curriculum a little bit, bring more industrial component into undergraduate, get the universities liaise with the industry so that the practitioners on the floor are part of the ones who teach the students rather than waiting until internship. That's too late for getting them involved. The other aspect that is required to be done is development and formulation development, which is necessary. And we have got to be careful. Development of pharmaceuticals does not necessarily mean new products. It can also mean using existing products to get them to a better regime. We did that at Cosmos when we were doing anti-TB, and we were asked by WHO to get involved, and we came up with a triple. It used to be 3 main medicines separate. We got them into one product. And that since then, seeing, although we are not the first ones, other companies from India and so forth were doing the same thing. But that is what is in use today. So that instead of getting someone a cocktail of medicines, they have one medicines. That is the same one that we are using even in ARVs, because that concept was used to make sure that you have one medicine rather than a cocktail of medicines.
Okay. And this integration of the industry into education, do you think it's possible within 50 years? Because
50 years? You have gone too far. Yesterday, it can be integrated. It's the will.
Okay.
It's the will. Just change of the. I know the universities are not very flexible when it comes to changing of the curriculum, but that can be done as a national need, as a need for the country, because today each country is careful about whether they have what we call medicine security. Medicine security means that if you have a medicines that satisfy the needs of your country, and you cannot export it until you have satisfied the needs of your country. And of course, what is missing in this country is a policy on medicine security. That one is missing. And once we have it, then what we are asking for will be done very, very fast. In fact, it will be a national interest issue, and it will be done.
Okay. What else may be possible in 50 years? As a vision for training, particularly.
A vision for training, we have got to look for the highest. And I want to look at it from this point of view. It's important to have a big base for academically oriented pharmacists and other practitioners, because discovery and invention is not a one-man's show. It comes from quite a group. Once you have that base, then the potential of discovery becomes higher. But the university should also not look at people with PhDs only. Discovery can be done even at the industry level. It can be done in a private laboratory. How do we adopt these medicines to a national level that it becomes an invention? And that is the whole thing about TRIPS, is about intellectual property. So we have got to ensure that intellectual property capacity runs across the academia, the industry, so that the newer medicines can be discovered. When COVID started, there was no cure. Everybody was saying, can we try this? Can we try this? And when you hear about the jabs we are getting in the terms of vaccination, it was an intervention that did not follow the protocols of research, of clinical trials, of what and what. It was now logical thinking. And logical thinking is because when a disease occurs, the first thing is how do we cure it? And do we have the things to cure it? And that is now the area of discovery. The area of discovery and innovation lies around there. And therefore you must expand your base, academic, industrial base, for you now to capture that.
Okay, thank you. We are coming to the end of the interview, and so as a parting shot, please take this opportunity to advise the graduates of University of Nairobi School of Pharmacy, especially the more recent ones, and congratulate yourselves because you're an alumni, as well as others for reaching 50 years of good practice and good training.
Let me say to the graduates and even the students who are coming up, don't look at the exams at the end. It's the beginning of your practice in pharmacy. The field is undiscovered. There are some unexplored, and you can explore and become a person who is contributing not just in the pharmacy practice in Kenya, but all over the world. See yourself as a seed that has been planted. And that exam that you're going to do to graduate is just to fertilize the area in where you are, and you can go anywhere. You are capable of doing anything. The School of Pharmacy, there's a lot to do. Just cultivate that spirit of new knowledge, discovery, innovation, and industrial practice. Link up with the industry so that all of it is linked together. And the Minister of Health and the government as a whole, medicine security policy is not there. And we just have got to do it. We have no choice but to come up with that policy. Even if they don't understand it, I want the pharmacists to push it to know so that it must be realized in the next few years. If it's not realized, we shall remain beggars. And we shall now do nothing when you have an outbreak of a disease. And for me, 50 years of pharmacy school of pharmacy, is something we should be proud of. That we have seen it all from the time Mzee Jomo Kenyatta ordered the start of the School of Pharmacy to the number of school of pharmacies that are there in the country. It means that there is a need that has not been fully realized. And I congratulate School of Pharmacists for setting the example and setting the base for training of pharmacists in the country. And most of them are there, and they are in the national space. And we really congratulate the School of Pharmacy for doing that bit.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. That was the last question.
Thank you.
Are we good? Yes. All's went well.
Yeah. So I'm done.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you're done. You're done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me just.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry if you've kept you for a while.